Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our daily get together every morning live here at Facebook, where we take a look at headlines and stories going on near and far around the world as they affect our lives as English speakers here in Puerto Vallarta. As always, it is always great to see familiar faces and see new faces join our broadcast every morning. If you are new, my name is Paco. And feel free to write the word new in your comments so that we can welcome you accordingly. Um, oh my goodness, look at all those birthday wishes. Of course, it is my birthday, yes. And I woke up to a wonderful number of birthday wishes, which I haven't had a chance to acknowledge yet because today we have some very, very important news to share regarding our state's policy for COVID 19 and whatnot. But I do want to acknowledge two very specific individuals. First of all, Gary Green, who arranged for number two, Eddie of Eddie's Cakes, to drop off a beautiful, wonderful, warm, just out of the oven birthday cake, which arrived this morning. That is very, very, very special. Um, it's been a hectic couple of days. I've forgotten to do laundry, so today I'm not wearing a color that is particularly good for a broadcast, but it is my Chachalaca Bar shirt, which I'm wearing very proudly in support of my friends at Chachalaca Bar, who have reopened as a bar slash restaurant and are offering some wonderful food related things that I have not had a chance to try, but I hope I'll be able to try sometime in the near future. Um, I'm going to, oh my God, I love black, but I'm never wearing black on the broadcast. That looks just so freaking formal. Good heavens. Please accept my apologies for looking like I'm all black. I want to jump into the matter at hand and talk to you about the announcements made by our governor last night. Um, I really applaud whomever works with Governor Alfaro at writing his speeches because yesterday's speech was very, very effective, very clear, not at all political, very much to the point, and every word he said is important, and every word um, he said needs to be heard. So, with your permission, I'm going to read his statement. I translated it this morning, word by word, and this is going to take the bulk of our day or our time together. But I really do think that every single word that Governor Alfaro said yesterday needs to be heard. The entirety of his speech, along with the video that he delivered, will be available on my website right after the broadcast, along with the show notes, so that anybody that can will please share this with the population in whatever groups you follow on social media, with your friends, um, because pretty much the governor has given us a deadline. No, not a deadline. What do you call it? An ultimatum. Yes, it is an ultimatum. Let me begin reading. This goes like this. On March 12, Jalisco took the first decisions to address the COVID 19 pandemic in uncertainty. Every decision made at the time was subject to criticism and questioning. Why? Because the state made decisions ahead of and independent of the federal government based on the academics and scientists of the Guadalajara University. From that moment on, the state of Jalisco became a nationwide benchmark for its proactive stance and for acting with responsibility, using co responsibility as its best shield against the virus, and most of all, for prioritizing health and security of its population above anything else. Today, we can say that time proved us right. After 117 days of hanging on, and regardless of many circumstances that make Jalisco a state with considerable risk potential, Jalisco has the fifth smallest number of accumulated cases in the country, the eighth smallest number of active cases, and the seventh smallest. Oh no, I'm not reading these in order. My bad. Hold on just a second. The fifth smallest number of accumulated cases would be this one. I am so sorry. Fifth number of accumulated cases. Then the eighth smallest number of active cases. Yes, that's the one. And then the seventh smallest number of morbidity cases compared to the rest of the nation. Now, making comparisons is not pleasant when it comes to fatalities, but Mexico City today has had 8 times as many deaths as the state of Jalisco. This is why we can proudly say that our efforts have helped save many lives. Being proactive allowed us to build our hospital capacity, and presently we have 2,736 beds to attend patients with COVID 19, and yet at the present time, we are only using 26% of them. We could deliver several. We were able to deliver several new hospitals in different regions of the state and expand others in accordance to our hospital conversion protocols. We provided new ambulances for all municipalities in Jalisco and prepare specialty units such as the Angel Leaño Hospital and a special center for voluntary isolation at the Primavera Hotel owned by Guadalajara University. Parenthetically, this is a hotel that was converted into a place where if you have COVID-19 and you have no way to isolate at home, this particular facility was established or converted for that purpose. I continue with the governor's message. Without a doubt, one of our best decisions was the obligatory use of face masks, even while federal authorities denied their effectivity as a preventive measure. Today, scientific evidence has proven their efficiency in blocking droplets and decrease virus transmission by up to 70%. This is why the obligatory use of face masks must continue to be pivotal in our state strategy against the pandemic. I insist, says the governor, it is absolutely proven that wearing a face mask can save lives. The success in our strategy as it relates to public health policy also allowed us, starting on June 1st, to gradually begin reactivating our economy. Relying on the support and commitment of business owners and workers, we established a path to follow in order to adapt our model to the new normality circumstances and learning to live with the risk. There was no other choice. Our economy could not sit still any longer. We began reactivating our economy step by step until today, when our economy is working at 72% of its capacity. We knew that in order to counteract the risk of economic reactivation, we needed to take several measures. But the most important one was to increase our capacity to test the population, identify cases, and isolate them. This makes me happy to say that while at the beginning of our strategy, we were applying 30 tests per day in the entire state, we are now applying over 1,500 daily tests. In total, to date, we have applied over 69,000 tests, which means that the state of Jalisco has, no, I'm sorry, has allowed us to detect. I am sorry, I skipped a paragraph. In total, we have applied over 69,000 tests, which means that Jalisco applies 7 tests for every 1,000 citizens, a number that is higher than entire countries such as Brazil, Bolivia, and Costa Rica. And of course, above Mexico's national average of 4.2 tests. Our Radar Jalisco program has allowed us to detect twice as many cases in our state than the Centinela program nationwide. In doing so, and in accordance with specialists, we have avoided 17,000 additional cases and 900 additional deaths. The decisions we began taking on June 1st have resulted in a constant and permanent tension between the needs of our economy and our public health system. Trust me, says the governor, this process has not been easy. I understand the despair of economic sectors that, due to their nature, have been unable to reopen. But with every decision, we've taken into account our health experts, who in turn have taken into account all the experience accumulated around the world and up to date scientific evidence, and have established a path that at oftentimes has not been the one I would have liked the most, to see our state working and moving forward at full thrust. To further support the decisions made by our health professionals, we invited public health experts from around the country. This extended group has evaluated the Jalisco plan during its different stages and agrees that it has been very successful. That said, their consensus has taken them to reach an overwhelming conclusion. At present time, the current circumstances do not allow for further reopening, but are not such that we have to step back and close things up again. We need to understand that today several circumstances are against us and can even complicate things further in the following weeks. If the dynamic of the pandemic continues to be what we've seen in the last few days, if people do not understand the current risk level, and if mobility continues to increase, we run the risk of losing everything we have accomplished to date. The lives of Jaliscienses are at stake, and this is why we must act with absolute responsibility. First of all, Mexico is experiencing a very serious increase in COVID-19 cases, unfortunately, placing our country in the 5th place around the globe in number of deaths. Jalisco is not an island, and our vulnerability from the intense movement of people, products, and merchandise with other states and other countries is enormous. Secondly, we must understand that weakening the population's discipline is taking a toll. In the last week alone, the average daily number of new cases has risen to 536. We've had 3 weeks with over 1,600 active cases. 25% of the 867 deaths we've had statewide to date took place in the last week alone. And the level of positivity went from 27 to 31%. Above it all, we are seriously concerned about the wear and tear of our medical staff. As in other industries, there are health professionals that are diabetic, suffer from high blood pressure, are pregnant, or are over 60 years of age. As such, they cannot work. As a result, The medical professionals that can work are doing so without any rest. Despite the fact that we continue hiring new medical professionals and rotating their shifts, the deficit continues to be enormous. In addition, 444 COVID 19 cases in our state correspond to medical professionals who were looking after COVID 19 patients. And there are 1,873 cases of other workers in the health industry. Even while we have our hospitals ready to receive new cases, our personnel is working nonstop and we don't have enough margin to maneuver in that regard. In addition, it needs to be said, even though it may sound as scolding, that there are those not complying with their responsibility when it has been requested. For example, the vast majority of businesses in our state ignored our request to stagger their working hours, which created a negative impact in our public transportation system. Individuals did not understand that they had to stay at home and only go out for what is strictly necessary. This is why, in the past few days, we've seen places in Guadalajara that are packed with people and tourist destinations such as Tapalpa, Chapala, Tequila, and Mazamitla saturated with visitors. The economic reactivation was supposed to only impact 7% of mobility in our state. What we've witnessed in the past few days is a totally different scenario. This is a clear display of irresponsibility and thoughtlessness that has put us all at risk. Things cannot continue to be this way. This is why our health board has decided that the time has come to adjust our strategy to keep the pandemic from going out of hand. The first modification, and please pay close attention to this paragraph, this is very important. The first modification is the implementation of what we call the emergency button. We are going to establish two new parameters that will determine if our state needs to stop all activity to stop and break the contagion chain. If applied, this measure would have a duration of 14 days to achieve its purpose. And when we say stop all activity, we mean an even more drastic measure than what we applied during the first stages of social distancing. It would mean shutting down all industry, commerce, and services. We would only operate health and security services and grocery stores. In this period of total confinement, restaurants would not be able to operate and not even offer food delivery to go or takeout. The only public transportation service available would be available only to health and security personnel. Outdoor markets, banks, churches, government offices, and shopping plazas would not be able to operate. The only places allowed to open during weekdays only would be convenience stores and supermarkets, but for the sale of groceries only. As opposed to our first confinement period, which had an indefinite length, this period of total confinement would have a duration of 14 days, the minimum suggested by our health board to stop the contagion chain. Afterwards, we would return to our reopening strategy as we had been establishing it, and birthday wishes. Afterwards, we would return to our reopening strategy as we had been establishing it, and we would be able to begin step by step the reopening of activities that are presently shut down. We trust that if we were to take this drastic measure, we would be able to stop the contagion chain and continue with our reactivation strategy without increasing the level of risk for the population at large. Believe me, says the governor, we don't want to reach that stage. We don't want to reach that stage. But if we continue as we are, we will soon have to implement it. We are throwing away the margin we had accomplished when we were following the guidelines. The time has come again for each one of us to assume our own personal responsibility. As long as there is no vaccine against the virus, we must accept the fact that when it becomes necessary to stop, we will have no choice but to stop. This is why, starting today, and as determined by the health board, we will stop using the stoplight system we had designed for our state because the parameters we were using to plan out our economic reactivation fulfilled their purpose but are no longer useful at this moment. Starting today, there will only be two parameters that will determine if we must activate the so-called emergency button. The first one is the hospital capacity parameter. The second one is the weekly rate of new cases as determined by the date in which symptoms began. If the first parameter reaches 50%, or if the second one reaches 400 cases, we will have to implement the emergency button. Period. Presently, the first parameter is at 26%, and the second one is at 290 cases. In addition, on July 15, we will introduce a new measure, a risk table, to determine how and when we will continue with the reactivation process for the 28% of economic activity that has not yet been able to reopen. Current conditions do not allow us to establish a specific date, and this is why we will design a new methodology to make decisions that balance the risk based on activity type. This methodology will allow us to move forward with the reopening of cinemas, theaters, bars, event halls, convention centers, and casinos, among others. What we're talking about is the need to allow approximately 600,000 workers to return in these specific business types. It is a big deal. We want everyone to be able to return to work, but without sacrificing lives. In conjunction with this, our education board will define the date and protocols that will allow students and teachers to resume education at schools. Furthermore, the state government will commit to underpin 5 clear strategies. Number 1, increasing the number of PCR tests. Number 2, voluntary isolation strategy to avoid reaching our hospital capacity. Number 3, the obligatory use of face masks in public and raising awareness among the general public of their importance. Number 4, strengthening municipal capacity to inspect and follow up to ensure that the measures established in the protocols are followed. And number 5, insist in businesses' obligations to establish staggered schedules for their workers. This is a pivotal moment. If we act responsibly, we will be able to move forward without having to stop our economy again. Jalisco needs each one of us. We cannot fail. And those were the words of our governor. It is exhausting to read like a politician, tell me. I tell you. But in this particular case, I didn't want to break it down into summary. I did not want to interpret it. I wanted to share it just as it came from the governor's mouth. Now, if you ask me what I think it means, I am going to be perfectly honest, and this is my personal opinion, not the news. This is my personal opinion. I think our state government already knows that we are going to have to reach that emergency button, and they're just dropping the bomb slowly. It will take a gargantuan a gargantuan effort on behalf of each one of us to avoid and prevent this from happening. I honestly do think they already know it's going to happen. But again, that's my interpretation. That's my personal opinion. So take all of this to heart and and do whatever you think you need to do. Let me take a quick look at some of your questions because I see some very important ones. Um, and oh gosh, happy birthdays, happy birthday. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. Somebody just asked, what is the source of the information that I was reading? And I want to tell you that the source of that information is my own translation of the address that the governor made on his Facebook page last night. So you can find it in Spanish on Enrique Alfaro's Facebook page. And I will share this translation in English on my website along with that will be the show notes for today, um, so that you can copy and paste or share or distribute wherever you want. I already spoke with Trisha Lyman of Puerto Vallarta and her wonderful Puerto Vallarta group so that she can have that information, and she's probably going to distribute it. Ryan thinks 2 weeks is a small price to pay in order to win the spread. I completely agree with you, Ryan, if it comes to that. Um, um, it'll have to be. And the party in July 4th was a huge setback. I have no comments about that because you know exactly that it was. Um, Apaches tends to agree with me, and it is unfortunate, absolutely unfortunate. Um, it would be great if police and reglamentos would also use masks, lead by example. Well, yes, and hopefully they will. A couple of people were asking me about what I'm going to do on my birthday, or how is this going to change my activity moving forward. Well, I had a conversation with someone a couple of days ago, if you'll indulge me, um, about my attitude towards the pandemic, and in a way, I am more concerned about it now than I was a month and a half ago. A month and a half ago, I was like, you know, it's going to happen, so I'm going to act responsibly. Um, and I hope to believe that I've acted responsibly most of the time. But now I've seen friends come in and out of hospitals. I've heard of acquaintances that have passed away. It's become real. A few weeks ago, I asked you if you knew people that had COVID 19 or had recovered from COVID 19. I am betting that the number of people that you know has also increased. So, moving forward, I will continue to do what I've been doing, which is number one, staying at home unless I have to go out. I will, on occasion, um, address my own mental health needs to go out and breathe some fresh air, and I will continue to go to the mountains responsibly. I will continue to, on occasion, attempt to support the local economy by catering to restaurants that I know and trust. I am sorry, I won't be dining at new restaurants or catering to new businesses in the near future as much as I would love to spread the love of them. I will continue to rely on this space as a space in which, if you feel that you can endorse a specific business or restaurant because you feel safe catering to them, I will beg of you to please share that in your comments so that we can all continue to know what businesses we can trust and cater to. I will continue in my best ability to go out and document my surroundings so that you can take a glimpse as to what's going on out there. And will continue to do so responsibly and trying to lead by example as much as I can. And I will continue to invite you to continue leading by example in your own communities, in your own clusters, in your own businesses. And and I will continue to try to be purposeful and as useful as I possibly can. Um, Other countries need to import these rational statements. Well, unfortunately, each country is its own guideline mark. You know, our governor is doing the things the way he thinks they should be done. And I wanted to read his entire speech because, again, if you had been busy thinking about other matters of things that are going on elsewhere in the world and had not been paying a lot of attention to local, particularly state policy, please know that our governor, as much as he has detractors, everybody does, has been very, very proactive in keeping the safety and health and well-being of our population. So if Governor Enrique Alfaro says what he just did, we must all pay attention in my book. Let me see. Da, 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 da. Say, as more time passes, I'm becoming more concerned. Yes, Stacy. It's like I don't want to be one of those. I don't ever want to be one of those shamers that walks around the street going, wear a face mask, wear a face mask. I don't like that attitude. But again, we really, really, really need to take care of this and take care of ourselves and be an example to those around us. I mean, that's the best thing that we can do. Um, it is already 11 o'clock in the morning. Alexa, stop. Alexa thinks I'm talking to her. I'm sorry. Did I ever tell you that Alexa, because my Alexa... Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. My Alexa reads the news in Spanish, so she calls President Trump President Tramp. Isn't that funny? One of these days, I'm going to bring Alexa close to me, and I'll have her do all kinds of crazy cookie things that she does in Spanish. Anyhow, let's take a quick look at the weather. (83 degrees), 28 Celsius. Humidity is low. It's only 69% when compared to the last couple of days. I think all this wonderful rain that we've been getting, um, um, it's it's good. And I hope that it continues to rain. There's a 10% chance that it'll rain again tonight. So let's hope for more rain. Rain is wonderful. Rain is our friend as long as it doesn't rain crazy. And sometimes it does rain crazy. Um, Yes, President Trump, Jeffrey Johnson. Every time I call up the news, I get a giggle. I get a giggle because she reads the news in Spanish, of course. Because I tried programming my Alexa in English, but living in Mexico and having her speak in English just gave her a psychological fuck up case or something. So I figured, okay, I'll try to think in Spanish as far as Lex is concerned. So I get a kick out of hearing about President Trump. Um, for leisure, I thought I would briefly talk about Mexico's traditional birthday song. In English, you have Happy Birthday to You, which I understand is still a copywritten song. And I understand that whenever it has to be used in broadcasts, excuse me, so a lot of speaking for today, whenever it has to be used on broadcasts or on television and stuff like that, um, networks have to pay royalties whenever somebody sings Happy Birthday. Leslie Gore popularized It's My Party. The Beatles have Today's Your Birthday. I mean, there are a lot of birthday songs. And then there are waiters that come up with their own cheers at restaurants, and God knows where or how they come up with those. Um, But in Mexico, we have Las Mañanitas. And Las Mañanitas is that song that we sing that you've probably heard. And so forth and so on. And you probably wondered, or maybe you haven't, where that song comes from or what the lyrics say. So, because it's my birthday, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, and then I'm going to read Las Mañanitas to me so that you can understand what the song is about. The song actually comes from the 17th century Sephardic tradition that came to Mexico with the Spaniards. And this, we don't know the exact date in which the song was established because there isn't one. There are verses that are ancient that are no longer part of the song, but the song, as we understand it in current tradition, goes like this. First of all, it's called Las Mañanitas, the little mornings, which is cute. It's endearing. These are the little mornings that King David used to sing. King David being a Spanish ruler. Because today is your saint's day, we are singing them for you. Then it says, wake up, my dear, wake up. Look, the sun has risen. The birds are now singing, and the moon has tucked away. What a beautiful morning this is in which I've come to say hello. We've come full of pleasure to congratulate you. The day in which you were born, all flowers were born. And when you were baptized, all, oh shit, ruiseñores. Ruiseñores, I think they're mockingbirds, nightingales. I think they're either mockingbirds or nightingales. The day you were baptized, all mockingbirds or ruiseñores sang. The sun is rising. Now the light of day is upon us. Wake up this morning. Look, the sun has risen. Isn't that pretty? That is the Spanish birthday song. No offense to Happy Birthday to You, Happy Birthday to You, Happy Birthday, Happy Birthday, Happy Birthday to You, which is very thorough and complicated. But I thought you should know a little bit about what we sing to one another when we celebrate our birthday. I hope you appreciated that. And and what? Did I understand correctly? If we if the red button is pushed, we will not be able to get an Uber or taxi. That is correct. You will not be able to do anything, Jerry. We will not be able to do anything. The measures that the government would implement would be as close as martial law as it gets. They would effectively be martial law with the exception of security workers or police authorities, health workers, and going out for grocery shopping Monday through Friday only. Transportation, public transportation would only be available to security staff, and medical staff. I want to make sure that we all understand that no going out except for food. And I suppose, obviously, medical supplies if you need to go out for medicine. But that's basically it. Um, I'm glad to see that some of you are learning the lyrics. Um, um, and Logan tells us that there's a lot of money spent on Happy Birthday song for royalties, and that's why they sing She's a Jolly Good Fellow. That's so curious. I really wanted to take more time in exploring the birthday things because I think they're fascinating facts. But alas, we were um, we were only able to have enough time to do this. And Christopher is happy to see me wearing my chachalaca shirt. It is very comfortable. I wear it to go to bed at night. I don't usually wear it out, but I will. I think I will today. I have to go grocery shopping. I have to do laundry because all my broadcast shirts are soiled now. Um, what about water delivery? You mean like Ciel and things like that? I seriously doubt that they would allow that, Jeannie. Again, the governor is not kidding. The governor is seriously not kidding. I mean, I have never heard uh, such a drastic speech, and our governor tends to be really tough and concise that way. This was beautifully written, very clear, very precise. Nothing will be available if we reach that point. Let us hope that we don't. Let us hope that we don't. But given the current numbers and given the reaction that the public has had to the staying out, the wearing a mask, and all these other guidelines, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up under those circumstances. Let us all hope that we don't go there. Let us all do whatever it takes for each one of us to do our share so that we don't go there. Let us all lead our small communities and clusters by example. That's all we can do. Do we want to shame people publicly? Perhaps not on a one-to-one level. We are not the police. We are not the police. But if you share your concerns in public forums like Trisha's board, like the gay board, like Coffee and Headlines, I will be so happy to amplify anything that is breaking the law and that is happening when it shouldn't be happening, as long as it is reliable. And that's something that is really important. We can't go out exaggerating news or shaming people when we shouldn't. If you go to a restaurant and you see something not going the way it should, take a photo. If you go to a store, everybody has a phone. Everybody has a cell phone. If you feel concerned about your own security, well, share the photos with me. Share the photos here. Send them to the boards. That's why we are here, to help disseminate information. Another problem remains our tourists that are visiting. Absolutely true, Jamie. Unfortunately, that is the case, which is why I hope that this commitment that the governor made at the end of his speech to help, it was number 4, strengthening municipal capacity to inspect and follow up to ensure that the measures established in the protocols are followed. I really hope that the governor means that and will take it to heart and will actually provide that additional support that our municipality needs. And Mark says, así está el pedo. Yes, this is what the fart is about. It's not a good pedo. It's a muy mal pedo. It's a really bad situation. Thank you for that, Mark. You made me laugh. Let's see what else. 50% of people in the romantic zone are not wearing masks. How do we get the message to them? We don't get the message to them, Rob. We call reglamentos. we call reglamentos, and we bug the shit out of local government to do what they're supposed to do. That's what the government is supposed to do. So we've published a number of reglamentos before. A couple of days ago, if you look on the website, we published the whole directory of the city. So we make phone calls. We make phone calls. If you feel so concerned about people around you, remember, you need to protect your own safety. You know, going out and about and trying to enforce policy in public results in what are they called, the Shirleys? No, the Karens. You know, you don't want to become a Karen, whether you're trying to, or you don't want to be the subject of a Karen or a Ken. I realize now that all those guys that are called Kens are the male version of the Karens. You know, we cannot do that because that jeopardizes your security. And for better or worse, remember, there's this Mexican temperament, there's this Mexican culture, and I'm not saying that I approve of it because we can be really ugly about it. You know, there is a lot of Mexican population that feels, who the fuck are you, person from another country, to tell me what to do? And I'm not saying that's good or bad, but it's very real, unfortunately. So please remember to protect your own safety first and foremost. Please don't go out there telling people what to do because you want to be safe yourself. If you see something that um, you don't like, call reglamentos. Um, Candace, thank you for that. Yes, the best thing that you can do for me for my birthday is to share this. Um, it's not for my numbers, it's not for my ranking, you know, it's because it's important. You know, share this message seriously. And I think this is a good stopping moment. Gosh, it's 11:17. I thank you. I thank you as always for sticking around, and I thank you for trusting this vehicle for reliable information. From the very first day, I established a commitment with this community that we are of only providing information from the best possible reliable sources. I have made mistakes because the sources have also made mistakes. But for the most part, I have and will continue to endeavor to give you the best possible, best credible, clear, and transparent information that I can. And I will always remain grateful for your company. You are the best birthday present anyone could imagine. Stay healthy, stay careful, lead by example, and stick around. I will see you soon.